The North Dakota State men's basketball team had a rare opportunity to play at the site of the 2019 NCAA Men's Final Four. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Bison Basketball Show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shawn. David Richman and company has spent the last few weeks in airports and hotels, but this past weekend had a chance to play closer to home in the U.S. Bank Stadium Basketball Classic against Drake, a unique event we broadcasted live on Midco Sports Network. The Bison and Bulldogs, meeting for the first time since 2005, and NDSU would be playing catch-up from the start. Dengu played the best game of his Bison career, getting the feet inside and maneuvering for two in the paint. Nick McGlynn was a force inside on the other end for Drake. The senior big man led the Bulldogs with 23 points on 7 of 8 shooting as the lead grew to 16. But NDSU would answer with a 16-1 run. Jarius Cook hits the corner three, cutting the lead to single digits. Then just moments later, Goo knocking down another triple. He had a career-high 21 points and 7 rebounds, and NDSU would be down just 3 heading into the locker room. In the second half, both teams coming out hot. Vinny Shaheed held scoreless in the first 20 minutes, exploded. The tough bank shot in the lane with the shot clock winding down, but Nick Norton answered, slicing inside for the tough lay-in. Norton would set a new Drake record for assists in the game with 17. Midway through the second half, Tyson Ward working off the screen and hitting the long jumper. He played 27 minutes, grabbing 6 rebounds and tallied 5 assists. Shaheed continued to roll, knocking down one of his 5 second-half threes. He scored a career-high 29 points in the second half as NDSU tried to keep pace. But in the end, the Bulldogs were just too much. Norton hitting the three. He had a triple-double, scoring 18 points and grabbing 13 rebounds. And Drake wins a shootout, 95-88. The Bulldogs shot 69% in the second half. The Bison got 35 points off the bench, but in the end, it wasn't enough.
At the beginning of the half, they went on a run, and we didn't really stop them at the end. And then we went on a 16-1, I believe it was, run. And after that, we were just trading buckets. And anytime you're trading buckets with a team, it's going to be tough to guard them. Very fun game to play in. It was great to be back in my hometown, see some family, see some friends, and just disappointed we couldn't come out with the win.
It was a great opportunity to come play in this venue. I think we had our moments, but then we had some lows. We just got to keep showing up and staying the course. Like I said, we had some highs and we had some lows, but when we're playing our best basketball, we look unstoppable. So we just got to keep showing up practice.
The Bison then hit the road to Iowa State on Monday night for a meeting with the Cyclones. NDSU holding its own early. Tyson Ward, a couple of early buckets. He scored 8 points and grabbed 5 rebounds on the night. Dengu came off the bench and provided a spark once again. Nice footwork inside to trim the lead to 10. But 11 first-half turnovers would plague NDSU, and Iowa State took advantage. Mariel Shayok getting in the passing lane, taking it away, and cruising in for the jam. He led the Cyclones with 20 points. NDSU weathers the storm as Chris Quayle hits the deep three to trim the lead back to single digits late in the first half. But Iowa State answers with an 8-0 run off another turnover. Tyrese Halliburton on the break finds a cutting Talon Horton-Tucker for the lay-in and the foul. It was a 16-point lead going into the locker room. In the second half, after falling behind by as many as 33, NDSU putting together a 19-1 run. Off the miss, Goo is there to slam it home. He had 10 points on the night. Then Rocky Cruiser stepping out and knocking down one of his 3 triples in the game. He finished with a team-high 13 points for NDSU. But the deficit too much to overcome. Zoran Talley Jr. spinning and scoring late in the game to put it away, and Iowa State wins it, 81-59, shooting 50% from the floor. Meanwhile, the Bison shot just 7 of 28 from the three-point line. Fortunately, the Bison will now get a little time sleeping in their own beds with only one road game in the next month of the season. Stay with us after this timeout. Coach Dave Richman stops by to chat about the busy weekend and preview this weekend's opponent. That's next.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Nodak Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Bison Basketball Show. We're now joined by NDSU men's coach Dave Richman to talk about North Dakota State's last road trip, which was a neutral court game at U.S. Bank Stadium, then Iowa State. But let's start with the game at the site of the 2019 NCAA Men's Final Four. Unique opportunity Wasn't sure how it was going to feel, what it was going to look like. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought you're right. It was a very unique opportunity, a very cool environment, and especially for a roster like us that has a makeup of a lot of Twin Cities kids and Jackson No-Tech from right across the river too. So a great experience, not the result that we wanted obviously, and the Drake team that you could see came in there playing better and better. But to play where the Vikings play, to play in a brand new venue like that, to play where the Final Four is going to be hosted here in a couple months was a really, like you said, a really unique and really cool environment and an opportunity.
Yeah, it was, David, and then it was strange to see a floor elevated, and the floor that was used is the same one that you've played on the Summit League tournament the last couple of years. All that was kind of strange.
Yeah, I saw that as they were setting it up. You saw those Summit League logos, and then they put the stickers over them too. So again, just those are the opportunities. We talked to our kids about it. The Monday prior, we're playing the #1 team in the country, and then that Saturday, you're playing at US Bank Stadium where the Final Four is going to be hosted too. So the Division I transition from 2 to 1 has been cool. There's been so many unique opportunities, and to experience two high-profile opportunities, challenges in the same week is really cool.
And then, one guy that exploded in the second half, which I think was really cool for him, was Vinny Shahid, who played his high school ball just down the road at Hopkins. 29 second half points. It got to be a shootout, which I know is not necessarily the type of game you want to play, but at the same time, it was pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I think, let's make no mistake, there's some silver linings and some positives in it, but we've got to get a lot better defensively, Brian, and that's really where it starts. And but to go back to, you can see, you forget that, so many people have said it to me, when you talk to Vinny, you feel like you've known him forever. The kid just, at that time, that was his 8th Division I college game. And so still a guy that's getting comfortable out there, and you can see that. You go back to the Iowa State game where the very first possession, he attacks and gets to the rim against a high major team. He's learning, he's growing, and building that confidence, which is fun to see.
Speaking of Iowa State having to go there, another quick turnaround. You've had a lot of those on the road this year. Talented team, long everywhere. That was one thing that stood out to me about them. But at the same time, when the chips were down, your guys still won on a 19-2 run late in that game. Guy like Jarius Cook steps up, hits a couple shots. Rocky Cruiser. Everybody continued to play hard, which I think has got to be encouraging for you here, moving into way more games now at home.
Yeah, I think our guys show great resolve, and we talked about that. There's no moral victories, but very pleased. At the moment there, you're 2-6, basically 2-6.5, about to be 2-7, and you can hang your heads. And we used that last 6, 7, 8 minutes as an opportunity to grow and messing around with some different lineups, and they showed some things too. And so encouraged, with that the attitude that they were able to find a way to show that resolve and to battle till the finish. And but also we've got to understand we've got a long ways to go here to get better.
Yeah, we had talked about you've been on the road a ton. You spent a lot of nights in hotels, a lot of time in airports for your kids. You guys have handled it, but now you only got one road game until January, which has got to be encouraging for you. A chance to finally play some home games. You only played one so far this year.
Yeah, I really think it's important, Brian, to get back to the rhythm of life. We've been basically gone for 2/3 of the last month, and you get out of so many sorts, and your routine as far as getting up and going to school and getting your own shots up and practice. I think I can count almost in the last 30 days 4 or 5 real practices that we've had, and so that's going to be important this week and then along the week next week to take advantage of those opportunities to just get back to some normalcy, to get back to some practice and get back to defining what we're all about: defending, rebounding, and taking care of the ball.
Eastern Washington comes in, and then you have another week until you play Missouri State. Does it help to have some extended breaks here? You could probably give the guys a little bit more of a breather here, can't you, the next couple of weeks? I mean, I know you still got to go, but at the same time, I'm sure you're a pulse guy to recognize where things are at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a balance. We're in dead week right now in school, and our guys have missed a bunch of that. You go into finals week next week, and so that's important that we need to finish up academically strong. And we've been gone a lot too. I think our legs need to get healthy, they need to get fresh, but at the same time we've got to grow in these opportunities too. So when we pick and choose our times to get out there on the court together, we've got to make sure that we're locked in, focused, and at the task at hand, or else we're not continuing to grow like we need to.
All right, Dave, thanks as always for the time, and good luck against Eastern Washington Saturday.
Thank you, Brian.
We'll see you out there. Dave Richman joining us here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. More to come. The Bison women took on UMKC at home this past weekend. We'll recap that after this. Welcome back. The North Dakota State women's basketball team has also been on the road a lot the last few weeks. The Bison returning home to host UMKC this past Sunday for their first home game since November 11th. It was the 14th meeting all-time between the Roos and Bison, each team trading baskets in the first quarter. Michelle Geislerova continued her hot shooting, connecting on one of her 3 triples on the afternoon. Circling Rimdahl played 13 minutes off the bench and hit both of her shots from the floor. NDSU led it 14-13 after 1. In the second quarter, Geislerova continued to bomb away. She scored a team-high 21 points for NDSU as the lead would grow to 7. Brooke Hampel would pick up the loose ball in the paint late in the half for UMKC and get the friendly roll, but the Bison still hold a 6-point advantage at halftime. In the third quarter, things remained tight. Riley Nudell hitting a pair of threes. NDSU shot 46% from outside the arc. Tyra Spencer played all 40 minutes for the 6th time this season, and she scored 7 points, grabbing 7 rebounds as the Bison build their biggest lead of 10 midway through the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Emily Dietz would muscle in 2 and the foul. She recorded her first career double-double with 16 points and 10 rebounds. But the Bison were held scoreless for the final 5 minutes of the game as UMKC erases a 7-point deficit. Erica Mattingly hit 3 triples down the stretch, even banking one in as the Roos finished the game on a 17-0 run to win it, 69-59. NDSU shot just 1 of 10 from the floor in the fourth quarter, while UMKC's bench outscored the Bisons 20-6.
In the last couple minutes, they really just turned up their energy and intensity and aggressiveness, and we didn't bounce back from that. We just really have to remember, only having 8 people, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't be tired. You think you're tired, but you can't be, and there's not a lot of room for mistakes, so we really got to mature and make sure we limit those mistakes.
We need to make sure that we play 40 minutes instead of playing 39 minutes or 38 minutes. We just need to find the effort inside of ourselves to finish the game. I think we're moving the ball really well and getting paint touches. We always talk about if you get a paint touch, it'll collapse the defense. So I think if we continue to do that and continue to move the ball and play for each other, we'll find success.
We now welcome in NDSU women's coach Maren Walseth to the set to talk about the Bison women's game against UMKC at home. First of all, it had to be good to get home. It had been a while since you got a chance to play at the Shack after getting your first 3 games there and then going on the road for a while. Did it feel good to at least get back in a routine and get the kids back in class again?
It absolutely did. Being back in a gym that we're very familiar with, in front of family and fans that we know are going to be there. Yeah, it was great to be back at the Shack.
And for about 38 and a half minutes against UMKC, everything was working to plan. Things were going well. You got some tremendous individual performances. Certainly Michelle Geislerova had another great game. But at the end, I know as a coach, those are things you see happen, and they just happen sometimes, don't they?
Exactly. I thought that the Bison really played well, like you said, for 37 and a half, 38 and a half minutes. And then our lack of rhythm really got to us. And then whether that was our own doings or perhaps UMKC's press that then just changed the flow of the game, which is why you do press or you change your defenses, I think that eventually caught up to us.
And there was a certain degree of just getting some bad breaks. A kid banks in the 3 off the top of the backboard. I mean, those are things that happen, and you just have to kind of look up at the sky and say, you know, it's just a perfect storm, isn't it?
It is, and part of our conversation in the locker room has been all year, control the controllables. And we have no control over if a bank 3 goes in. You know, we really don't. We don't have control over some of the calls the officials make. We don't have control over that. What we do have control over is our effort and our communication. And when those things are operating at a high level, we must feel good about what we're doing. Obviously, you still want the win on the end result, but we can't control some of those parts of the game.
The one thing that also stands out to me is Michelle Geislerova, Tyra Spencer, how well they're playing, and they're playing a lot of minutes, because that's where the program's out right now. You got help on the way with Sabijavovic here in another week or so, but playing at a high level with the minutes they've played, you got to be so impressed with how they've handled that.
I think Tyra Spencer's not getting enough credit publicly, maybe even from our staff and maybe not from her teammates. She's operating at a very, very high level. The ball's in her hand a lot. Decisions have to be made. Her voice is being heard. And as a junior, she's really matured and grown into that. I'm very, very pleased with how she's playing. I also really liked how Emily Dietz came along against UMKC. I thought she handled herself very well.
She's one of those kids that you can see has spent time in the weight room physically. She's able to finish through contact. I think that was one thing that probably probably has stood out to you here through the first month, right?
Absolutely. That kid has been in the weight room, enjoys the weight room, enjoys the contact and the physical play, and she's worked so hard in practice. Again, can't control all the calls that maybe she is called for early on in the season, but really worked through that, and I was very pleased with the level, the mentality that she came out with to play her game, and I thought she played very well on Sunday.
And now you get a whole week at home again to prepare for another home game against Milwaukee. That's got to be helpful, I'm guessing, just to get some legs back, get back, like you said, into the classroom, get some things. That just seems to make everything a lot easier, doesn't it?
I think we're all creatures of habit, and so when we can get back in and sleep on our own beds and do the same thing for a couple of days, everybody kind of settles in and is able to take steps forward, both in that classroom, finishing off the semester strong this week, and on the basketball floor.
All right, we'll see you Sunday against Milwaukee.
Thanks.
NDSU women's basketball coach Maren Walseth here joining us on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. We talked about Tyra Spencer, and we're going to go one-on-one with her after this timeout.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by NODAC Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Women's guard Tyra Spencer came to North Dakota State and played a major role right away, starting 16 games as a freshman and 7 as a sophomore. But this season, she's taking on an even larger role. This week, we go one-on-one with the Oakdale, Minnesota native. All right, time to go one-on-one with NDSU junior guard Tyra Spencer. And little known fact between me and Tyra, we went to the same high school.
Yes,
we are both
did.
Bloomington Kennedy Eagle alumni. I'm sure it's changed quite a bit since I went there.
Probably.
Talk to me growing up in Bloomington, playing at Bloomington Kennedy, and your process of getting to where you are as a guard. There's a lot of great players in the Twin Cities, so talk to me about just playing growing up.
Playing at Bloomington Kennedy was the best decision I've made, honestly. I played with some really good talent. Kanisha Bell from Minnesota, played with somebody that went to St. John's, somebody that went to Georgetown, so I think it really helped me mature and be a better player.
You had an unfortunate incident where you tore your ACL kind of right before your senior year. I think you were trying to come back from an ACL tear. What was that like to go through that and still trying to get recruited to play college basketball? Because that's a big summer and a big point where you're trying to get noticed by a lot of coaches.
Yeah, it was hard. A lot of schools kind of stopped talking to me, but I got through it, so I think it was meant to happen. It made me stronger mentally and physically, so I don't regret it.
When you came here, you were not biggest, and you're still not the biggest, but physically you have, I think, probably spent most of your time on just getting stronger with the basketball. I know talking to Morgan Page, one of your position coaches, that was a big focus. So what was the biggest thing that you had to learn to take care of the basketball and get stronger with it?
Mostly just getting in the weight room with Mead really helped me with that. And we did do a lot of heavy ball work before practice, just 5 minutes a day, really made a difference. And just the experience, really, most of the experience. My freshman year, me and Sarah had to handle the ball a lot, so more than a usual freshman would, so that helped a lot.
That must have been tough coming in right away. I mean, you guys had to play a lot of minutes. You had to go up against much more experienced players, much older players, but I'm guessing now you're probably better for it, right?
Yep, I would say so, yeah.
So what is the next step for Tyra? You've been here 2 years, this is your junior year, and so what's kind of the next goal of yours, as you enter this season?
I think this year I really want to take my speed and just learn how to control it more. I think last year and the year before I was just had speed, but this year I want to be smart with my speed and use my speed to my advantage.
Off the court, getting away from basketball, tell me something about Tyra Spencer most people may not know about you.
I ultimately want to be a nurse anesthetist. So right now I'm in psychology major, but I want to do a master's program after I graduate from here. And yeah, I want to be a nurse anesthetist. I really want to be in the surgery room, and that's really what I want to do with my life.
How did you figure out that was what you wanted to do? Because that's not a normal thing someone that's 20 years old kind of figures out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've always just been interested in biology in general. And 2 summers ago, I think, I observed some surgeries and I just really was like, wow, I really want to do this.
All right, Tyra, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tyra Spencer, one-on-one. Spencer has started every game this season and has been durable, playing an average of 36 minutes per contest. Stay with us here on the Bison Basketball Show as we take a look ahead at the upcoming schedule.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by NODAC Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Back to put a wrap on this week's show and take a look ahead at the upcoming schedule. Both teams getting a much-needed breather with only 1 game this week. The Bison men hosting Eastern Washington as part of the Big Sky Summit League Challenge Series. That game tips at 7 p.m. on Saturday. We'll have it for you on Midco Sports Network. The NDSU women will host Milwaukee on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. and we'll also have that live on Midco SN as well. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next time.